Hello and welcome to another Health Essentials podcast. I'm John Horton, your host. More than 3 million older Americans land in emergency rooms every year because of a fall, making it the leading cause of injury for the 65 plus crowd. Staying off that statistical list starts with maintaining strength and balance throughout life. So today, we're going to learn a few simple exercises to help you stay steady and on your feet, particularly as you age. Our trainer in this effort to stay vertical will be exercise physiologist Katie Lawton. She is one of the many experts at Cleveland Clinic who join us weekly on the podcast to offer tips for healthier living. So with that, let's find out how a few minutes of daily exercise may be all that it takes to stay upright. Katie, so great to see you again. We always appreciate return guests.
Thanks for having me back.
Well, like I said, you're one of our favorites. Don't tell everybody else. So before we get into talking about ways that how we can improve our balance, let's talk a little bit about why our balance fades over time. I feel like I'm in pretty decent shape, and I got to admit, I don't feel nearly as sure-footed as I used to be. And that's painfully obvious to me whenever I'm out hiking with my sons and they're mountain goating over everything. And I am just like waiting to fall on my butt. So why is this?
There could be multiple changes that are happening. Some of it can be just from your eyes themselves, from your vestibular system, kind of within that inner ear a little bit. Some of it is some strength. There is also some things that can happen in the neurological system as well, within all the little intricate nerves within your feet or within your in your legs and things on those lines that don't allow your body to actually be able to adjust nearly as well.
Yeah. And I just feel like I just react slower now. And man, it's so frustrating, but it just happens that way.
It is. It's really frustrating. And I do see it a lot because I feel like for some people, it just happens all of a sudden. And they don't feel as secure as what they once were when they were doing those type of activities. But, and we'll talk about the training part, I'm sure. But, that is one thing that you kind of almost need to throw into your training program.
Well, we're definitely going to work on that. I know we've made aging sound very glorious here with this last answer, but the key to kind of keeping your balance is working on it, which is what we're going to do.
Yep.
When you talk to patients, you have people come in. Like, what's their biggest worry when it comes to their balance? Like, what are their fears with it?
Falls. I mean, I think that's the biggest thing, right? Because, with any type of major falls, it can create a domino effect to your health, surgeries, broken bones, being sedentary. And that's, scary, for the most part for all of us. I think that's the major one for sure.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you start to feel like it affects what you can do in life and
the quality of life.
What you can go out and do. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, being able to do things like hiking and being able to climb nearly as well as you used to, trying to keep up with people, sometimes even just walking. Some people find that they're shuffling, when they are walking, they can't keep up nearly as quickly as they once used to be. They feel like they're holding people back when they, go out in a group and they try and go do these type of activities. And so, it's hard for some people.
Yeah. And even simpler than that, just what you're doing around the house, everyday tasks, getting in and out of a tub can all of a sudden become way tougher.
Stairs, also become a huge issue for most people. They have to hold on to the railing when they're also climbing the stairs. The dog would sometimes get in the way, or the corner of the rug we trip on that we didn't used to have to worry about before. Other things, one of the big things is actually urinary incontinence, right? People having to rush to get to the bathroom is one of the other things that most people also have higher risk for fall. So, because you have to hurry up to get to the bathroom really quick. So that is another thing that most people are usually concerned about as well and have to prepare for.
Well, which is why, as we're going to talk about now, it's so important to do some exercises and activities that kind of help you maintain that balance as you get older, at least as much as possible. Now, I know we all know Father Time is undefeated, but are there things that we can do to kind of prevent or limit some of the natural deterioration that leads to all this unsteadiness?
My number one thing is actually just staying active. Generally, we become more sedentary for longer periods of time. That's when we see a little bit more deterioration between the neurological system and the muscles themselves. So again, it's that if you don't use it, you lose it. Okay. So that's my number one thing. Is just kind of keep moving. And then there are other balance type exercises that you can do within an exercise program or outside of an exercise program that can help at least maintain it, if not, make it better for that matter. But, I think everyone just has different reasons as to why their balance is decreased. So depending on that, will depend on how easily you can kind of make those changes to your balance.
And when you're talking about like staying active, I know obviously your balance can kind of deteriorate over time, and sometimes then you do feel more unsteady and less like you want to do some of these things that suddenly feel risky, things you used to do and didn't even think about.
Right.
Is it good to go out and keep kind of pushing yourself a little bit and just take a little extra time when you're doing these things just to make sure, like I said, you don't slip and fall or just to kind of offer a little protection?
Yeah, that one's a hard one. I think that just depends on the person and how severe, what their severity of what their balance is like. If you have really poor balance, I'm not going to tell you to go on a hike by any means, but if it's moderate, then, and I'm moderate, but if it's, decent, like you said for yourself, yeah, I think you're okay to continue to hike. But yeah, there might be some other things in your training outside of just the hiking itself that's really important for you also to consider doing outside of it, to making sure that the next time you go, you feel a little bit better about when you're hiking as well.
So when you're doing these exercises or these workouts, I take it there's some muscle groups that you really want to target when it comes to retaining balance. So what are those?
The intricate ones are kind of within the feet and the calf and the front of the shin. And then if you want to go into like some of the bigger muscle groups, it's the core, it's the glutes, the hamstrings, the quads. Those are the other primary movers as well.
Yeah, it sounds like from the core down are kind of where you just want to stabilize everything.
Yep.
What happens? Like if you do have a solid core in that, what does that do to help you just stay steady on your feet?
The biggest piece of it is actually helps keep your pelvis level. And once we see your pelvis kind of shifting, that's also going to make things not act as quite as well it's supposed to. So in your center of gravity, if it's within your core and in your abdomen. So if that's not straight, that's where everything kind of tends to tilt and makes it a little bit harder for yourself as well.
Yeah. And it's always hard. Nobody likes doing core exercises. they're so important, but it's just, I think they're everybody's least favorite.
I would say everybody. There are some people that's all they primarily do, but yeah. Anyways,
all right, well, maybe I'm talking for myself, which is why I don't have a 6-pack of abs going right now. So,
but yeah, the goal is to not do more of like the planking, bracing. You don't have to have your core activated all the time, but just so that's strong enough to support your spine and your hips in a level position.
All right. Well, let's break down some of these kind of balance exercises that people can do. And if you could walk us through a few of them, that would be fabulous.
One of again, it all depends on, where you're kind of starting from. But if I generally start people kind of in what's called a tandem stance balance. So you're placing one foot in front of the other, heel to toe. All right. And that's where you're going to kind of start. And you're going to switch ways after, however you hold it for. I usually will start like kind of having a goal of 20 to 30 seconds on each side. But that's where I generally like to start and then kind of progressing from there. Sometimes
so just like walking the line for the classic police thing, right?
Yeah, sort of. Now that's another step, right? To the, making it harder is kind of walking on a balance beam is another variation to it as well, which is another step harder than just standing there with your feet in that tandem stance.
What does that do? I mean, because it seems so simple. Just the idea of putting one foot in front of the other and just, taking those little steps. How does that help with your balance? Or is it just engaging certain muscles?
Certain muscles within the feet and the ankles. But it's also, again, that the reaction that you have to be able to kind of hold steady. The whole point of when we are trying to balance is to make sure that we're not wobbling as you're doing it. We really want to try and stay as steady as you possibly can. If you're having way too much movement as you're balancing, you still need to work on, being able to try and keep as steady as you possibly can in those positions.
Okay. All right. So heel toe walk, one big one to go do. What else can people do to try to, just keep things balanced and steady?
Single leg balance, just standing on one leg. And sometimes that's just hard for some people as well. So that is, again, where, you're just going to shift your weight all to one leg and you're going to lift the other leg up and try and hold that position. Again, I like to go for at least 20 to 30 seconds where we're not kind of faltering before you can kind of move into another more challenging position.
Is it okay? And a lot of times people will do that and like you put your arms out, like you airplane for a little balance. Is that okay to do, or is that something you should strive not to need?
I think that should be something you strive not to do. But I think when you're starting out to kind of, learning it a little bit, I don't think that's a bad thing to also kind of do as a counterbalance to begin with, and then slowly lowering your arms down as you get better at it.
And I thought I saw with that too, like you can do it where you just lift your leg up, like kind of bend your knee and do it like that. But then there's some modifications you can do with that same one leg stand too, right?
Yep. So you can kick your leg out in front of you, or you can kind of kick your leg out to the side, and you can kind of do it in a repetition phase. And that's actually going to be really hard because that movement is going to make things so much more challenging. Or you can hold that leg out in front of you or hold your leg out to the side for like 10 seconds at a time.
All right. So kind of increase the degree of difficulty on that.
Always, right? It's never, if it's easy, we should be trying to make it harder as much as we possibly can. Because once things get easier, our body's going to get used to it. So we always want to try and make sure we're challenging it further.
Now, if you're going to try something like that and you haven't done it in a while, should you make sure that you have something nearby that you can hold on to, whether it's a wall or a chair or just something in case you start to lose your balance or you can catch yourself?
Yeah, I really actually like to use the countertop. It's actually a pretty good height as well for most of us, and it's extremely sturdy. Plus, there's usually some type of timer that's also within the kitchen, whether it's like an Alexa or whether it's, the microwave timer that you can also use. A wall is also a really good option. A sturdy chair, making sure that's a folding chair. And you can also have somebody there that's close by. That's also going to, stand behind you as well. That's also probably not a bad idea either.
Probably not one of those office chairs with wheels too. That would
no.
that could cause some problems. What other kind of exercises or stands could people try?
The Bosu ball. I don't know if you've ever heard of that. It's
Bosu ball.
The Bosu. It's the half ball. It's a blue half ball with a slat on the bottom.
Okay.
And you can actually flip it over and use both sides of it. But the top blue part is another challenging variation. Again, that's probably more for your advanced people that like yourself just need more steadiness when we're going for our hikes or skiing. That's another one that we would generally use that for as well.
Another of those balls, they kind of look like Saturn, right? Like with the rings around it and just,
exactly. Yep. A foam pad, if you've got a foam pad, would make it a little bit more challenging. Sometimes I'll tell people to use a pillow or a folded up beach towel at home to also try and stand on those to make things a little bit more challenging at home too.
So what does that do if you have like a folded towel? Is it just that it makes it that much more irregular what you're standing on, that it kind of engages more muscles?
A softer surface, yes, and that just makes us have to work a little bit harder to try and reposition our feet, and our nerves have to act a little bit quicker to try and get into more of a steadier position, and our muscles have to work harder to stay in those steadier positions.
Now, if you're going to do some of these exercises or some of these moves or stands, can you do them like regularly? I mean, should you do them like once a day? Can you do them just whenever you're just kind of standing around? You're in line waiting. You can just pop up and stand on one leg for a little bit. Yeah,
I think it just depends on where you're starting. Again, if your balance is pretty good, I mean, I think 4 days a week should be, or depending what your goals is with the balance, I think 4 days a week should be really good. If your balance isn't very good, then I would say probably the frequency would have to go up to 7 days a week, if not, twice a day at sometimes as well. But I also think it depends on what you're doing during the day and the other activities you're doing as well. But Yeah, I mean, it doesn't hurt to do it more frequently. Now, I will say things like lack of sleep, dehydration, what else is there? Nutrition, some types of medications, those types of things will make the balance a lot harder. And you'll notice some shifts or changes. Like one day it'll be really good and one day it won't be as good as the other day. So, if it's not feeling as good that day, there probably is another reason, potentially is, if you did it the day before, it was really good. Today, we're going to go ahead and do it, and it isn't as good as it was yesterday. There are some other factors that might also take into effect in some of that too.
Yeah. And how long should you spend on these? I know we kind of talked them through, but is it just, 10, you said 10, 20 seconds, like kind of for each one?
I do 2 or 3 sets generally, just to kind of get a little bit more practice. Sometimes that first set is a warm up. And generally not as good for some people. So the second and third set is a little bit better. So it's better to do them a couple times as well.
So really, you're just looking at a few minutes. If you did that heel toe walk and standing on one leg, I mean, just those two, it sounds like you can get a pretty good balance workout in, and really it's a couple minutes at a time.
Correct.
All right. Now we've kind of focused on how this is so important for those of us with more candles on our birthday cakes. Mm-hmm. But our balance exercise is something that you would recommend people try at any age?
Absolutely. And actually, the sooner you do it in life, the better it is as you do get older as well. I mean, we do expect some deterioration as you get older, but if you think about setting your standards up higher at a younger part of your life and trying to maintain that, you're going to be much better as you get older as well.
Well, I got to say, I'm feeling better about my odds of staying upright after this chat, Katie. And I'll have to do a couple of those just to make sure the next time I go out hiking with my sons, I'm not I'm not that wobbly on some of the rocks.
Yeah.
But if someone was listening to this, what's the one thing you want to make sure that they take from this podcast?
Obviously, I think it can be done every single day. Okay. It doesn't have to be done to that extreme for necessarily everybody, but I think it depends on where you're starting from. No matter what disease you might have, some of it may not get any better, but I still recommend practicing it just because we don't want it to get worse. And your body will generally tend to make the adjustments, coming from other, systems and other muscles to kind of help you keep those balanced. So you kind of still have to practice it a little bit. And so that your body can get used to being in those positions. Increased risk for falls goes up as our balance decreases. So I would, like to think that that's one thing that people can try and do to prevent as they do get older is to do some of those balance exercises. And it actually has a correlation between your independence of living as you do get older as well. So, if you don't have good balance, you're going to lose some of your dependence as you get older as well.
That's great advice, and I think that we all want to make sure we stay on our feet, and he gave us a lot of help to do that. So Katie, once again, thank you so much for coming in. You always give such great advice and guidance, and hopefully it'll help a lot of people.
It was nice talking to you, John.
Balance issues that lead to falls often can be traced to lower body muscle weakness. Your chances of staying upright improve the more you work and use those muscles, so don't ignore them. If you liked what you heard today, please hit the subscribe button and leave a comment to share your thoughts. Till next time, be well.